Hi, welcome to this overview of the Storm King's Thunder module integration with Roll20. So I'm calling this an overview rather than a review because I'm actually looking at how the Storm King's Thunder module has been integrated into Roll20 rather than the actual review of the content of the Storm King's Thunder adventure. I'll cover that off in a later review, but what I wanted to look at was if you purchase this either in addition to or instead of purchasing the hardback adventure from Wizards, what content are you actually getting as part of this Roll20 integration? Are you getting enough material to be able to run the whole module without having to have the book as well, or would you still need the book? So when I was quite interested that they've started doing these official integrations, which I think is a great idea. And obviously, Lost Mines of Phandelver was the first one of these that they did. Storm King's Thunder is the first of the proper full-size large modules. So it did appear, substantial investment to purchase this alongside the book. But I had a look at what the Roll20 team had presented so far, screenshot-wise, and it looked as if it was pretty good. But one of the reasons for me making this video is so that GMs can see exactly what you do get as part of this and make the decision about whether they want to pick up this module or not. So when you do purchase the Storm King's Thunder module in Roll20, when you come to create a new game, you'll have that module option on the right hand side. You can create a game and then click on the module, and it integrates that module into the journal section and the map section of the Roll20 game that you've created. So that does make it quite weighty, so it does take a little bit longer to load up than some of the other ones. But what you effectively get is most of the material is loaded into this journal section. So as you can see on the right hand side, we have various options here in the journal section. So we have a start here section. So if we look at this start here section, you can see that we've got various effectively handouts or journal entries. So if we click on introduction, you can see that we have the introduction notes. And as you can see, looking at the text from here is exactly the same text which is in the hardback book. So it's clear that they've made a good job of actually including all the material from the book itself. So that's good. So that was very reassuring to see straight away. And as you can see, it's broken down into various sections that would have been in the book itself. And you can scroll through those quickly to see what is there. More importantly, you'll notice the large number of hyperlinks that we've already seen so far, and that's great because rather than having to now fight to jump between different pages, we can just click the hyperlinks and it opens up these extra pages. And you'll notice that, for example, it opens them up in an additional window. So if I'm reading this section and wanted to know a little bit more about Daggerford, I can click on that and I can see the Daggerford content here, but below that is the original window that I had open anyway, so I don't have to then go back and find where I was. So compared to reading the original book, obviously if I was reading the book and wanted to then go to the Daggerford section, I've got to put a bookmark in or hold open the original page, search the index or flick through to find the Daggerford section and find the bit I'm looking for. Whereas these links make it much easier. And this is actually a good look at possibly what the future of these types of modules are going to be. You know, if we were to look ahead a few years, maybe the hardback books would have been completely replaced by this. Given role players tend to like hardback books, I can't see it ever really happening to be totally replaced. But it's a good insight into when we're playing online. This does make it much easier. And I think even if you were to play around a table face to face, it's worth considering the module and using Roll20 because of the speed of being able to find stuff and jump around, rather than with the book where you might have to sort of like pause while you flick through it while the players are waiting. You might find that this is actually faster if you've got like a laptop alongside your GM screen, etc. There's a little bit of a note in here about the Roll20 battle scale. So obviously the module includes a large number of maps done by various different authors into different scales. So Roll20 have included some notes here about how they have integrated those maps into the scale system that Roll20 uses. So that's just some various notes to help you understand what they've had to do to make it work. There's this handy little running the adventure section, so you click on that and then zoom in, you get this nice little flow chart about the whole adventure laid out. And as you can see on the top row, we've got chapter 1. We can either start with 1 to 4 adventure, level 1 to 4 adventures, or we can bring in 1 to 4 adventures from other published adventures. So that's good then. So these options have been included to allow us to jump in with maybe some pre-made characters from another adventure. And as you can see, if we look down here at the linked adventures section and open that up, you'll see there's a note about linked adventures, but also there's then specific adventure hooks for the Lost Mines of Phandelver, Hoard of the Dragon Queen, Prince of the Coplix, and Out of the Abyss. So if we click on the Lost Mines of Phandelver one, you'll see that there's various ways to bring the party in from that adventure into Storm King's Thunder. So that's good as well. So if we jump past the starts here section and look at one chapter, so I'm not going to go through all of this material, don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but I want to show you the sort of content that you can get in each of these sections. So the first thing you get is generally an introduction to the chapter. So again, taken from similar to the book, you've got this little section here, tells you about what's going on. You'll notice that they've indented the sections that you maybe read out to the players, so there's a little section there you can read out to describe what the players have been doing, and it's been indented so it's easy for you as a GM to find and read out. Again, we have all of these little hyperlinks. If we want to jump to particular sections, we can quickly jump to the Nightstone section, and there we've got the handout which shows us Nightstone. Again, that's been quickly jumped. So as you can see, that next one is actually the Nightstone link. So we have maps of locations. So in this case, we've got Nightstone, which is one of the villages or towns that the players maybe start at. And as you can see, you have this little handout, and obviously you can then show it to the players, or you can edit the option and place it into the players' journals themselves, so that they can then review it at a later date as well. Now, if we look at one of the first of the maps, we have the Dripping Caves. So in this case, this is the GM version of the Dripping Caves map. So if we scroll down, you'll see there's various sections of the cave are numbered, and there's notes. And obviously we can zoom in on that. But let's look at what you may then do is obviously keep this window open while we go to the actual Dripping Caves map. So if we look at the Roll20 pages area, you can see there's a huge number of pre-configured and predefined maps. So all the hard work and preparation time that you would have to spend as a GM if you bought the book, getting all of that stuff ready, it's been done for you. So let's click on the Dripping Caves. Let's just close this window for now. And what you'll notice straight away is all of the tokens have also been pre-configured for us. So here's the Dripping Caves. We have a large number of tokens pre-configured for us. The tokens all come with official Wizards artwork on them. They are good quality tokens. And let's have a look around at some of the features of Roll20. So you'll notice we've got the map is annotated with the section numbers. Now if we move to the GM layer, you'll find that those numbers are actually only on the GM layer, so they won't show up to the players. So that's nice that they've taken the time to separate out those numbers onto the GM layer so that they're visible to the GM but not the player. And the most useful one is dynamic lighting has been pre-configured, and it's been done very, very well. So if we zoom in, you can see that they've spent a lot of time very carefully tracing around the edges to create the dynamic lighting windows. So for people who've maybe not played with dynamic lighting in Roll20, you do normally need a paid account to Roll20. It's not expensive, it's only a few dollars a month, and it gives you access to things like dynamic lighting. I don't know whether, if you purchase a module, whether you get dynamic lighting for free just for this particular adventure or not. Maybe someone from the Roll20 team can pipe in into the comments and confirm that or not. But certainly I think it's worth investing in and supporting the Roll20 team with the monthly subscription anyway. What you find with dynamic lighting is the green lines that have been drawn here are the edges to places where light or sight would not travel past. The red line here is normally a door, or in this case it looks like a large rock, so maybe it's an area that the players can dig through. And what you would typically do is, as a GM on the dynamic lighting there, you just select that and basically press delete to open it up when the players have dug through, or opened the door. If we move to the object layer itself, what you can do is, if you want to see how dynamic lighting works, you can click on a particular token and press Ctrl L. So if we look at one of these ogres down here and press Ctrl L, it will show us the dynamic lighting working with the line of sight from the ogre. So as you can see, the ogre's line of sight of vision is blocked by these walls and blocks, and as we move the ogre around, you can see that dynamic lighting automatically changes. And it's a really nice feature, particularly in caves and dungeons. You can also change the settings. So if you go to the cogwheel and advanced, you've got various lighting options. So at the moment the ogre is configured to have 60 feet of full vision and has sight of about 360 degrees. The second number here is used for dim light. So if, for example, I put 20 in there, I would have 20 feet of full vision and then 60 minus 20, so 40 feet of dim vision, the difference between the 60 and the dim light option. So that would just kind of create a fading. So they would have 20 feet of very good quality light and 40 feet of slightly dimmer light. You also have this all players see light option. So typically, if the player's carrying a torch, you might tick all players see light, because other players would obviously see the light cast from the torch that one player is carrying. If, however, one of the players has dark vision, you typically wouldn't tick that box, because the player wouldn't be able to see what the other player with dark vision is seeing, because that's something which is natural to that player themselves. So it's really nice that they've spent their time doing that job on this sort of stuff here. And you can obviously maneuver the tokens and add tokens to this map if required. So similarly, we have various text sections. So here's a little section about Morax's quest, and we have another handout or another little map for the Tower of Zephyrus here, and that's the stuff which is in chapter 1. So all the chapters, I'm not going to go through the other chapters, just open them up briefly so you can see. So chapter 2, one of the towns is clearly Golden Fields, so there's a map of Golden Fields and there's some information in there about quests in Golden Fields that occur inside that town. I guess some of them are probably optional, and then there's a bit about the attack on Golden Fields. So each chapter is laid out in a similar format with an introductory piece of text, any maps, handouts or locations, etc., and then any other material required. So if we jump past the chapters section now and look below, we have a magical item section. So if we open up that, you'll see there's a series of magical items that have been predefined and loaded into the module itself. So if we were to look, for example, we've got a typical bag of holding, very popular magical item, and you get the nice little piece of artwork that you can share with the players and a description below of the actual item itself. So if the players were lucky enough to have one of these items, you could actually then place it into that player's journal so that they have access to it if they forget exactly what it does in the future. So it does appear there is a fair number of magical items for the players to find or use. We have an NPC section as well. So in the NPC section we have a series of monsters, appendix NPCs and named NPCs. So let's have a look at the monsters. So as you can see, there's a huge number of tokens that have been predefined for us, all with the artwork, or most with the artwork. There's one or two missing. But if, for example, let's look at the centaur. So here we have the centaur token. So we have a nice little token, bit of artwork, a little bit of information about the centaurs. But we also have it linked to the SRD and the monster manual. So in this case we have the centaur. We see that the centaur's got multiple attacks, so it can make one attack with its pike and one attack with its hooves, or two with its longbow. So if I'm the GM and I'm attacking a player, I might make an attack with a pike by clicking on it, and an attack with the hooves. And now what you can see, if I switch to the chat window, the dice rolling window, you can see that I've made those attacks. I've made a pike attack, I rolled a 10. I've made a hooves attack, I rolled a 21. So the 10's unlikely to beat a player's AC. The 21 is certainly going to beat most players' ACs and do 12 points of bludgeoning damage. So it's nice that all of these character sheets and attacks have all been linked in the same way that you would with a normal character sheet as part of the SRD stuff. So that's great. So if we go back to the handouts, what we can also do is, let's say we want that centaur page again, and let's say we want to make the account a little bit more difficult. I can drag a centaur off and drop it, and there's the centaur here on the map, so I can make an encounter a bit more difficult. Or if I wanted to, if I felt that the players were, getting a bit bogged down, or maybe they were running a bit low, and I wanted to give the players a bit out, I can just hit delete to remove some of the characters from the encounter and make it a little bit easier for them. So then we have an appendix NPC section. So again, these are NPCs that are located to particular areas. So let's look at Golden Fields, a town. So we've got this guy here, Shalvis. So we get a nice little bit of portrait artwork for him that we can share with the players. We've got his character sheet. So again, if he was involved in an encounter and made a quarterstaff attack, click on it there, go back to the dice window, and you can see that he's just made this quarterstaff attack. He's rolled a 4. It's probably not going to hit, and he would have only done 1 point of damage if he had hit. So these integrations here, if people haven't seen them before, you can configure Roll20 to work with like actions and damage, so it automatically makes the roll for you and calculates the damage. The first number is the number you use if you have not a normal roll. Second number is a number if you've got advantage, and if you've got disadvantage, you use the first of the two numbers effectively. So it's just basically a way of also, if you've got disadvantage, use the lower of the two numbers. If you've got advantage, use the higher of the two numbers. But for a normal roll, you always use the first one. It just rolls both of them together because it saves you time rather than trying to predict whether you've got advantage or disadvantage. So if we jump back to the journals now and close that NPC section, we've got a named NPC section in here. So you can see here that these are named versions of other creatures. So you can see here we've got a guy called Cog, who's clearly an ogre, but has obviously been customized a little bit. So maybe he's like a chief or a boss or a slightly more powerful ogre than the generic sort of stat line that comes out of the monster manual. So they've configured some of those guys as well for us. So in this case, there's a squash attack here. Then we have various player handouts that you may want to use during the adventure. So you've got some player handouts for the monsters. So for example, if someone didn't know what a bugbear looked like, you can click on the bugbear handout and show them the picture of what a bugbear looks like. There's various handouts in there. There's also some handouts for some of the locations, etc. So for example, if the players are arriving, you might want to show them just this little piece of artwork to show them coming ashore and pulling the boat in. So all of these little things have been included to add flavour to the adventure. And there's various handouts down the bottom. So in conclusion, I think it's definitely worth considering purchasing this as an alternative to the book, or certainly if you're going to use Roll20 to run it, purchase it alongside the book. There's a lot of preparation work being done for you to save you a huge amount of time, so it's worth it on its own. If depending on how much you value your time, it could take you hours to pre-configure some of these maps for dynamic lighting, find all the tokens, get them set up in the right locations, attach them to the right stat blocks. It's all been done for you. So they've done a really good job of this, and it will be interesting to see if other adventure module sort of writers go to the same sort of levels of detail that have been provided for this one to create some really good modules for Roll20 in the future. I think this is kind of really the benchmark of what an excellent quality one looks like. As far as the actual adventure itself goes, as I mentioned, I've not had a chance to play it yet, so I don't know what the actual raw content of the adventure is like. I'll cover that in a later review, but certainly if it's up to the Wizards' normal standard, it should be really good. So hopefully you found this video useful. You're obviously watching this on my YouTube channel, so please do click follow below if you want to see other videos that I'll be doing. I will be doing a series of videos on Roll20, so things like how to configure dynamic lighting, how to upload custom maps, linking tokens, etc. I'll do a whole load of videos to help you guys out with the features of Roll20. I'll also be running various sessions on my Twitch channel. You can see the link to the Twitch channels included there as well. So although there's nothing there at the moment, if you wanted to jump over there and click follow, it would notify you when I go live. And obviously my Twitter link's there as well, so you can see when I'm posting stuff up on Twitter. At the moment I run IGM sessions on the Encounter Roleplay channel. At the moment on Tuesdays, although the days may be changing in the future. So again, once again, thanks for watching this video, and hopefully you found it useful.